Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu directs all government agencies to ensure prompt payment for the use of the newly renovated International Conference Center, which has now been named after him to ensure its sustainability. Nigeria's Senate seeks to institutionalize an annual June 12 presidential address in recognition of the day's historical significance. National Human Rights Commission records over 275,000 cases in the month of May in what the agency describes as a disturbing rise in sexual violence and displacements. And the death toll from Austria's school shooting rises to 11. Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker calls the shooting a national tragedy.
On business news tonight, World Bank cuts its 2025 global economic growth expectation from 2.7% to 2.3%, citing uncertainty caused by trade tariff disruption.
On sports news tonight, host cities in the United States for the 2026 World Cup say an immigration crackdown by President Donald Trump may impact next year's tournament to be co-hosted with Mexico and Canada.
And from the nation's capital, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED-Fund, threatens to cut funding for underperforming institutions, says future interventions will now be performance-driven.
It's no longer business as usual. That appears to be the message from President Bola Tinubu as far as maintaining government infrastructure is concerned. President Tinubu was speaking at the commissioning of the newly rehabilitated International Conference Center, which has also been named after him. The president, who directed that henceforth all ministries, departments and agencies should pay for the use of the facility to ensure its upkeep and long-term sustainability. According to the president, the conference center is part of the country's larger vision to become a hub for regional diplomacy, continental trade discussions, and global partnerships. Our SEDAS correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
It's the commissioning of the newly rehabilitated International Conference Center in the nation's capital. President Bola Tinubu, accompanied by the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, takes a tour of the facility, which was built in 1991. Emerging outside, he's shown to his seat. The Minister of the FCT thanks the President for being an exemplary leader. He also touched on the need to maintain the facility optimally.
If you are not the kind of person who would have not done this work, pressure came left, right, and center. He said, go ahead and rehabilitate that place. And we thank God for showing that the leadership. And that's what we have always said. Our problem is leadership. When you have the right leadership, things will get done. And this is what you have shown today. Mr. President, I thank you. How do we sustain this? I want to let everybody know. Whether you're a ministry, whether you're an agency, you want to use this, you have to pay something. You have to pay. That's the only way it can be sustained.
Finishing his speech, it's clear he's a happy man. For the President of the Senate, the center is a symbol.
Mr. President, the renovation, the rehabilitation, and the transformation that we are witnessing in ICC is what we are bringing to this country, whether people like it or not. The Nigerian Parliament is very proud of you. We are proud of the fact that we do the budgeting, we give the approvals, and you do the execution.
President Tinubu, who the center is named after, encourages the FCT minister to continue to be steadfast.
Don't pay attention to the busybody and the bystanders. Whatever they say, continue with your good work. You are a transformational leader. You have the voice, foresight, the vision, and determination to succeed.
He also stated that under the renewed hope agenda, infrastructure will be restored across key sectors.
The International Conference Center is part of our country's larger vision to become a hub for regional diplomacy, continental trade discussions, global partnership, and many more thoughtful, well-outlined goals that reflects our Nigerian first.
This is the first of several capital projects scheduled for commissioning in the FCT as part of activities to mark the president's second anniversary in office. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
To the National Assembly, where the Senate is considering a legislative move to institutionalize a presidential address every June the 12th in recognition of the day's historical significance. The leader of the Senate, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, disclosed this in an interview with journalists in Abuja today, stating that the Senate is hoping to prepare a bill to formalize the president's speech to the nation on that date. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Mizoke, reports.
You may be seated.
It's barely 48 hours to the celebration of the 2025 Democracy Day, which would see President Bola Tinubu deliver an address to a joint sitting of the National Assembly. Beyond the day, the Senate is setting the stage for a bold move to enshrine the moment as a lasting democratic tradition.
Mr. President is also working with us in that regard. That is also his own interest. We are hoping that we'll be able to bring a bill, soon to address this with a view to ensuring that it is institutionalized. There can't be a better time for the president to come and address the nation through the parliament, than on June 12th. We're also hoping to be able to change, our political setting to the extent that the swearing-in ceremony of the next president and commander-in-chief of Nigeria we hold within the arcade of the National Assembly.
Additionally, the Senate's leader addressed pockets of concerns raised about the implementation of the 2025 budget.
2025 budget is being implemented. It is running along with the capital of 2024 budget. So it then will mean that we will further extend the implementation of capital expenditure for 2024 budget, while also ensuring that the entire budget for 2025, capital and recurrent, are funded.
He also reviews the performance of the 10th Senate over the last 2 years, identifying the challenges, the progress made, and the agenda before the lawmakers, including the review of the 1999 Constitution.
I want to say that the Senate in the last 2 years has had a lot to deal with and has also taken a lot of decisions. Part of our objective is to ensure that before the end of the third year, in office, that whichever constitutional amendment we are proposing or whichever new provisions we are proposing, everything would have been ready and put together, for presidential assent.
Meanwhile, the Senate leader also responded to mixed reactions over the National Assembly's ongoing probes, emphasizing that the committee investigating the oil and gas sector remains active and will continue to engage key officials and stakeholders in a renewed push for reforms. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television.
And more politics now. 2027 may be 2 years away, but a group which goes by the name Concerned PDP Stakeholders are already looking ahead of the polls, demanding the zoning of the party's presidential ticket to the south, as well as the reinstatement of Mr. Sam Anyanwu as the party's national secretary, among others. This unanimous decision was taken by the group at a meeting hosted by the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, at his official residence in Abuja. While addressing the stakeholders, Mr. Wike stated that for far too long, the PDP has allowed persons without genuine interest to make decisions for the party. Our correspondent, Kumbi Abuluwade, reports.
This is a gathering of some members of the People's Democratic Party under the aegis of the concerned PDP stakeholders from across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. Those in attendance include the former governors of Benue and Abia states, Mr. Samuel Otom and Mr. Okize Ikpeazu, present and former federal lawmakers, River State lawmakers led by the Speaker of the House, Mr. Martin Amewule, some PDP state chairmen, among others. The meeting is holding at the official residence of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to deliberate on some lingering party issues, including the party's 2027 presidential ticket and the controversy surrounding the position of the party's national secretary.
Today, this country is stabilized because of the activities of the G5 governments. As an opposition party, we cannot continue to act on impunity. No opposition party in this world survives acting on impunity.
We must respect the constitution of the people. What we are discussing here today shouldn't be an issue, especially on the issue of national security.
Thereafter, the meeting then resolves into a closed-door session. After about 2 hours, the meeting reconvenes and a communique is read by the FCT minister.
In the spirit of fairness, inclusion, federal character principles, and respect for our party constitution, the party must make an unequivocal pronouncement zoning its presidential candidate to the South in the 2027 election. The party must, without further delay, respect the judgment of the Supreme Court. We therefore unequivocally affirm Senator Sam Anyanwu as the duly elected and substantive National Secretary of our great party.
Other demands by the stakeholders include all notices of meeting, which involves the party's National Convention, National Executive Committee, National Working Committee, must only be issued by Mr. Sam Anyanwu in his capacity as the National Secretary of the party. Kumbi Aboluwade, Channels Television News.
Now, how strong does Nigeria value human rights? Well, you may be surprised that over 275,000 complaints of human rights violations were recorded in the month of May this year, marking a rather disturbing rise in sexual violence, displacements, and attacks nationwide. The National Human Rights Commission revealed that many Nigerians today feel abandoned and without recourse to justice. This was disclosed by the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, during the presentation of the May 2025 Human Rights Dashboard in Abuja. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
This is the presentation of the May edition of the National Human Rights Commission Dashboard on Human Rights Situation in Nigeria. Development partners, media, civil society groups, and senior officials of the Commission are in attendance. The Commission recorded 275,256 complaints in May. This includes attacks in the Northeast, sexual violence, and displacement from natural disasters. From February to April, there were 40,000 new displacements and 1,460 complaints from internally displaced persons, refugees, returnees, and asylum seekers. The dashboard is a tool to track and respond to human rights violations. A new quarterly dashboard on displacement in partnership with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees was also launched to highlight conditions of affected populations.
Our collaboration with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees has highlighted the dire conditions faced by IDPs in many parts of the country. These individuals endure inadequate shelter, limited access to health care, and a lack of basic amenities. Their rights to safety, dignity, and livelihood are systematically violated.
The Commission warned that rising injustice and citizen despair are threatening national unity. They call for action from government, partners, media, and civil society.
Our efforts, as exemplified with our monthly human rights situation dashboard and the dashboards on human rights and internal displacements, requires support by government and development partners. We also look forward to strengthening our partnership with the media in the usage and deployment of these banks of data, and more importantly, with civil society to use these dashboards to hold government to account on their obligations to promote, protect, and fulfill all human rights of every Nigerian and every person living in Nigeria.
The NHRC reaffirmed its commitment to protecting human rights and called on all stakeholders to turn data into justice. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, threatens to cut funding for underperforming institutions, says future interventions will now be performance-driven. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu directs all government agencies to ensure prompt payment for the use of the newly renovated International Conference Center, which has now been named after him to ensure its sustainability. Nigeria Senate seeks to institutionalize the annual June 12 presidential address in recognition of the day's historical significance. National Human Rights Commission records over 275,000 cases in the month of May in what the agency describes as a disturbing rise in sexual violence and displacements. And the death toll from Austria's school shooting rises to 11. Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker calls the shooting a national tragedy. Let's now switch gears and head to the nation's capital, where Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Great to see you again, Millicent. Over to you.
Thank you, Ayatunde. We begin in the education sector, where the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, has announced a major policy shift, stating that future interventions will now be performance-driven rather than treated as automatic entitlements for institutions. The warning came during an exclusive interview with Channels Television today, where TED Fund Executive Secretary Mr. Sonia Chono underscored that institutions failing to meet key benchmarks, including enrollment targets, academic performance, and proper retirement of allocated funds, may be excluded from future funding rounds.
Badan, Lagos, Nsuka, ABU, Zaria, 18 of them, that we are giving them serious funding. We are committing for some of them 4.75 billion public universities, including state-owned universities. We are committing for each of these locations a minimum of 4.75 billion, including hostels for their clinical students. We want them to expand their capacity to take students, to double by next year, and in the next 4 years to be able to actually quadruple how many students they can take. We are working with JAM, we are working with all the committees we set up to monitor all of this. That is one of the things we are doing, because we do not want a situation where institutions are collecting allocations every year, yet it's not translating to their primary business of training our youths. So now we are not going to give it's not an entitlement anymore. It's going to be performance driven, and your enrollment will be a key factor. In fact, I just finished. I'm just working on another circular that is going off in the same direction. That if you are not able to significantly increase the number of students you enroll, then you're not fulfilling your mandate, because you're established there as a training institution. We have some very embarrassing statistics of schools that have been there for 4 or 5 years and they're having less than 100, 200 students. It's unacceptable. So, and you won't believe it. One VC just left here and was giving me a feedback just because we started this thing late last year.
What is the sanction?
The sanction is that we'll stop funding you, we suspend you from funding.
And that was an exclusive interview with Channels Television's Gloria Umezuoke. Let's head to Borno State, where the governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, has extended his condolences to the government and people of Adamawa State following the death of Professor Jibril Aminu, a distinguished scholar and politician. Professor Aminu died on Thursday, June the 5th, at the age of 85 after a brief illness. Governor Zulum, accompanied by prominent businessman Mohammed Indimi, visited Governor Umar Fintiri at the Government House in Yola to express their sympathies. Governor Zulum enumerated the contributions of the late professor. In response, Governor Fintiri thanked the delegation for their visit, calling Professor Aminu's death a great tragedy not only for Adamawa State, but for the entire nation.
Your Excellency, we are here purposely commissioned with the government and the people of Adamawa State over Kimas, one of my one. Alhaji Zulum Aminu, over his recent death. And we pray that Almighty Allah grant him eternal rest. May he be admitted to the not built up.
It is the nation that lost him. It's not Adamawa. And we're pen in the morning. And their visit and their prayer, it is our wish that Allah will grant him eternal rest. Amen. And we urge us to keep this relationship among us, the Northeast, which has strengthened and kept us alive to solve most of our issues and problems together.
And there was excitement as residents in Kaduna State got a chance to experience a Durbar festival organized by the Zazzau Emirate as part of activities to celebrate the Edo Kabir festivities. The festival, known as the Hawan Dushe in the Hausa language, which was held at the Palace of the Emir, attracted Governor Obasani of Kaduna State and a host of other dignitaries from across the country. Also in Gombe State, residents trooped out to watch the colorful festival hosted by Governor Inua Yahaya.
The Durbar is a traditional Hausa cultural festival that involves a colorful mounted parade of horses featuring the Emir and his retinue of aides and local musicians. It is a significant part of Hausa culture and history, particularly in northern Nigeria, and it's usually organized during the two Islamic holidays, Eid al-Kabir and Eid al-Fitr. In Zaria, Kaduna State, the festival is holding at the palace of the Emir of Zazzau, and dignitaries include the governor, Obasani. Colorfully decorated horses and their horsemen parade the streets in a procession with the Emir and other nobles in their beautiful attires and turbaned heads. The procession displays horsemanship skills, paying homage to the Emir to reaffirm their loyalty, provoking visual excitement from the cheering crowd.
Durbar is very one of the most important traditions here in Zazzau Emirates, and of course you can see that all the chiefs within the palace have come out today to demonstrate and support our tradition of this very important Durbar that always take place once in a year. And of course you can see the joy, you can see the happiness.
For Governor Sani, the Durbar demonstrates the unity and peace that exists in Kaduna State under his administration. From Zaria to Gombe, the spectacle of the Durbar remains a delight for residents, as this year's edition assumes international significance as a colorful festival catches the attention of the United Nations. Beaming with ecstasy, Governor Inua Yahaya appreciates the United Nations for the interest shown in promoting Gombe culture.
You see, we are reviving culture, restoring all the historical monuments and information with regards to Gombe. And we are making serious effort. And that's why you can see right by my side is the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations.
Beyond the yearly festivities, the state government plans to build museums to preserve the diverse cultures in the state. The United Nations and the Gombe state government are pledging to forge better working relationship for the greater good of the state.
Well, from that excitement to the fulfillment of a promise in Edo State, where Governor Monday Okpebolo has provided a 2.5 MVA injection substation to Udomi community in Esa Central local government area of the state. Now, Governor Okpebolo, in company of top government officials, visited the injection station to inspect the already completed and ready-for-use project. The intervention, designed to open up the community and others that will be connected to the substation, according to the governor, is in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu.
It's a new hope for our people. It's a new development, a new way forward for our people. So I'm sure the people from this community, they are very happy with this development today. It has never been like this before. But with the new hope agenda of Mr. President, you can see what is going on in this community. These people, they are happy. Tomorrow, when there is any election now, we'll get 100% here for Mr. President. So the most important thing here is dropping this line here. This will bring about development to the community. Let me thank the House of Assembly that graciously approved the School of Health. You can see what is happening there. We are serious about it. Government is ready to do it. More projects will still come to this area because it's an area that has been lacking behind for a very long time.
Still ahead on the news at 10, World Bank cuts its 2025 global economic growth expectation, citing uncertainty caused by trade tariff disruption. That's on Business News. To join us again.
Welcome back. In Anambra State, Governor Chukwuma Soludo is going all out to ensure that residents witness its transformation into an enviable economic hub, by not only giving assurances on enabling ease of doing business through reforms in infrastructure and investor engagement, but also mapping out an organized industrial hub for businesses to thrive. Governor Soludo made this known during a high-level business roundtable convened at the International Convention Center, Awka, where several stakeholders discussed on business-enabling reforms under his administration.
This business roundtable is put together by the Anambra Ease of Doing Business Council, and it's an occasion that brings together key stakeholders, including industrialists, investors, government officials, traditional rulers, the organized private sector, amongst others, to engage in the state's economic vision, as well as review the state's business climate. The Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Chiamaka Naki, and the President of ASEMA, Uchenna Apakama, x-ray Anambra's position in business and point out where improvements are needed.
When we meet as a group, we ask ourselves, what are our priorities, right? What are we looking to enhance? And these priorities, I hope, is comprehensive enough. But first is that we are saying that we want to improve accountability, because I know that most of the time the revenue part, so we asking to pay revenue, of course that's a civil responsibility, but the government also, this government is also committing to transparency.
There's no trade fair in Anambra State. And the one was acquired some time ago by state government. We need to have a trade fair ground where we can go to exhibitions and fairs. Any city, any state should have at least a trade fair ground where the members of the commerce can come in there. Whether you deal in any particular article of trade, you can come there once in a while and hold a fair to expose our products to the world.
After hearing directly from the people, Governor Chukwuma Soludo assures the business community that he is committed to creating a favorable business environment that will address all the issues raised.
We just realized that sooner or later, everywhere in Anambra will get fully built up, but in a chaotic manner. And we decided that it should have happened. We ought to have had something like a master plan some many decades ago. But the best time again, the second best time is now. And that's why we set out government to intentionally acquire some parcels of land and designate them for some purposes. But we want to be able to plan for the next 200, 300, 500 years.
Governor Soludo also informs the gathering that the Anambra Railway Master Plan is still on course and that as soon as the financial details are sorted out, that project and other reforms will be put in place to enhance investor confidence in Anambra State.
Tech enthusiasts have called for both government and private sector support for players in the tech ecosystem in the Niger Delta. This was part of the conversations at the NDDC's Tech Expo in Port Harcourt, River State. The different panelists took turns in outlining the challenges faced by players in this space while also preferring solutions to such issues.
It's day 2 of the Port Harcourt Tech Expo, backed by the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The event, holding in the Garden City, has in attendance tech enthusiasts, government officials, officials from top tech companies, and students, among others. Speakers at the event touch on the need to embrace new technologies, foster indigenous innovation, and the integration of artificial intelligence to improve all fields of human endeavors.
Just like I will always say, a man without principles is useless. A business without strategy is dead. A business without vision is as good as dead. The likes of Sony, the likes of Canon, saw that where they were going to is digital photography, and so they slowed down and then they started adapting to that disruptive technology that was coming, and they kept being afloat. But Kodak kept doing this before he tried to do a U-turn to adapt to digital photography. It was too late.
Entrepreneurship is the persistent pursuit of opportunities without regards to scarce resources that are controlled by industry-related experience and founders' choices. And that is why you can see Dangote has a monopoly, because he was able to create a market. And that is why you can see Bua has a monopoly, because he was able to create market. Everyone that creates markets has a monopoly, and that is the index of innovation.
You can just ask the AI, okay, I'm looking for a law or a case law relating to murder. And it will bring, and you can even choose the court. You can say, I need a judgment of the Supreme Court. I need a judgment of the Court of Appeal on this particular principle of law. And everything will just come out. So tech is doing a lot in the justice system, but we still need more solutions.
A former official of the NDDC, Dr. Dax George Kelly, emphasizes the importance of the Tech Expo and why it's imperative that events like this lead to the cross-pollination of ideas.
The Port Harcourt Tech Expo for me is a big thing that is going to be as strong as the Offshore Technological Conference that we used to have in Houston. I think this is a big thing for Port Harcourt. This is a big thing for tourism even in River State. Now you see a lot of ideas coming up. You see a lot of people showcasing their technologies and what they have been able to create. You see a lot of different tech giants. Technology is the way to go. We must not depend on fossil fuel in Nigeria here. Technology is the way to salvage Nigeria from poverty.
Technology remains an important enabler of efficiency, easier access to information, and fosters creativity and innovation in various aspects of life.
There's a popular saying that black does not crack, but then experts say it still needs protection. Contrary to popular belief, melanin-rich skin isn't immune to sunburn, skin damage, or premature aging. In fact, the risks are real and often underestimated. Now, in a move that signals both awareness and innovation, global skincare leader Nivea is stepping into the Nigerian market with the launch of its debut sunscreen product designed specifically with dark skin in mind.
Beneath the golden embrace of the Lagos beachside sun, a new chapter in skincare awareness unfolds. The Nivea Sun launch event isn't just a product reveal. It's a call to action, bringing together top executives, skincare specialists, and health professionals to spotlight a crucial but often neglected topic: sun protection for every shade of skin.
It is true, melanin-rich skin is somewhat resilient, but it is not immune to the effects of the sun. And that's really what we want to talk about today.
Sunscreen is a daily requirement.
right? Being that there's exposure to sun, but beyond sun, there's exposure to UV rays, right? And they are the things that cause skin reactions, darkening of the skin, or sunburn, as the case may be.
Guests are guided through skincare masterclasses, hands-on product testing, exciting games, and the Nivea Solarium, a UV simulation that lets attendees witness firsthand the impact of the sun on skin.
And what makes it different from other sun products in the market is that this does not leave a greasy feel on your skin. So once you apply it, apart from the fact that it gives you the actual protection from the sun, it also does not leave that greasy feeling, making you uncomfortable. And because also from our studies, we realize that this is one of the key call-outs that consumers, have made regarding sun products.
Then comes the showstopper, the unveiling of Nivea Sun. Lightweight, non-greasy, and expertly formulated for all skin types. More than just skincare, Nivea Sun anchors a wellness mission, one aimed at combating sun-related skin conditions like melasma, sunburn, and even skin cancer.
A lot of feedback on our other products, basically about things that have to do with sunblock and protection against UV. This is the product for the first time in Nigeria that actually answers to that need, right? And being very pocket-friendly and available across the country, we believe this is something that every Nigerian can have access to and take advantage of.
Come to the market with the best of the best. So we're expanding this category. It's not just going to be a face product. There's going to be body, there's going to be kids, and we'll continue to innovate in the sun. We're here in the sun protection game, and we're here to win.
With this launch, Nivea sends a clear message. Every complexion deserves care, every skin deserves shielding, and every Nigerian deserves to bask in the sun with confidence.
Let's get the very latest in the world of business with Dominic Iwewu. Dominic?
Thank you, Ayo. Welcome to Business News. The World Bank has sharply cut its 2025 growth projection for the world economy to 2.3%, down from 2.7% earlier projected, marking the slowest rate of global growth since 2008. In its Global Economic Prospects report released today, the World Bank cited the impact of disruption caused by ongoing trade uncertainty around many countries following the introduction of tariffs by U.S. President Donald Trump. Just last week, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development lowered its global growth outlook for this year, citing the fallout from trade and tariff-related uncertainty as key factors. The Central Bank of Nigeria has extended its deadline for the recapitalization of Bureau de Change operators to December the 31st, 2025. This comes after mediations between the Association of Bureau de Change operators and top CBN officials, following the expiration of the second deadline for the recapitalization exercise given by the Apex Bank on June the 3rd. The CBN had initially set the deadline for December 3rd of last year, but later extended it by 6 months to give BDC operators more time to meet the new requirements. Financial Derivatives Company says it expects Nigeria's headline inflation rate for last month to decline to 23.15% against the 23.71% recorded in April. The Chief Executive Officer of FDC, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, who made this known on our Business Morning program, also highlighted the factors that likely drove inflation lower in May.
Right. Two things. One is that the exchange rate has stabilized and has actually appreciated marginally. The difference between the power and the official market has narrowed to about 35 to 40 naira. We also seen a drop in the price of diesel and petrol at this time, and we are also beginning to see, we've seen some, not a contraction, but a slowdown in the rate of increase in money supply. So those are the major issues. But generally speaking, logistics costs have reduced. The key drivers again, lower diesel price, base day effect, and generally speaking, the Hajj and the Hajj period and effect is having a dampening effect on prices. So what we saw in the last month was, and that was before the flood in Mokwa, all right? We saw prices begin to moderate. We saw that the exchange rate stabilized. We saw the price of diesel drop to below 1,000 naira for the first time in many years. And we also saw that the expectations, especially because Dangote was bringing down the price of petrol and diesel, people were no longer scared that the price of logistics costs would be increasing. I think there was some kind of cautious optimism amongst investors, manufacturers, and farmers.
The Nigerian equities market resumed from the long Muslim holiday on a bullish note, picking up from the positive performance which ended on Thursday last week. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the stock market reports. The NGX resumed from the Muslim holiday with a bit of enthusiasm for stocks and not a lot of profit taking as expected. The all-share index is higher today by 0.18%, and this is coming from the 1.63% it closed with on Thursday last week before the holidays. 114,820 points. That's closer, inching closer to 115,000. Let's look at the drivers. Consumer goods index recorded a massive gain today, nearly 3% up today, and this was boosted by Honeywell flour, Dangote sugar, NASCON. Banking is also in the green, 0.27%. So positive movements in the tier 1 banks, including Fidelity Bank, that's been top trades for a while now. Meanwhile, Aradel lost 50 naira today, and that dragged down the oil and gas index. And we saw profit taking also in MTN Nigeria. Overall, the market has started the holiday shortened week on a positive note, and we hope that this momentum is sustained throughout the week. Those are the highlights today. Willie Bong signing out.
Coming off the bullish sentiments, let's have a look at the snapshots of closing figures from other major global stock markets for Tuesday. For the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. The death toll from the shooting at a middle school in Austria today has risen to 11. 7 women and 3 men are so far counted among the dead. The suspect, a 21-year-old man, was a former pupil that did not graduate from the high school. He is believed by police to have killed himself in the school bathroom. Police also say 2 legal firearms were used by the gunman, and he was not known to police before today's deadly attack. Here's Sami Pusa with more international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studios.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. At least 10 people have been killed at a shooting at a secondary school in the Austrian city of Graz. Students and teachers are believed to be among the dead after gunshots at the Dreerschutz and Gasser High School. Several more students have been injured. Local media report the suspected gunman killed himself. Police say they began an operation at 10 a.m. local time after gunshots were heard from inside the school. The Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker said these were young people who had their whole lives ahead of them.
In Austria, an absolute rare event. Gun violence is extremely rare. You just don't see guns in society. They're hunting weapons. It's not like in other countries where you have laws that allow people to carry weapons in public. I mean, obviously, people think about the United States, where there's an extremely high level of gun violence and incidents like the one we're reporting on now in Austria. Very, very rare that this would happen.
The US President Donald Trump is deploying more National Guard troops and Marines to Los Angeles as protests in the city continue. Monday's protests were generally calmer, but the prospect of Marines on the streets has sent shivers through communities. California Governor Gavin Newsom says he will take legal action against the deployments, calling Trump deranged and dictatorial.
He flamed the fires. This is exactly what he wanted. This is what he intended by illegally acting to federalize the National Guard. We're going to be initiating a lawsuit first thing tomorrow morning, and it did exactly what we told his team it would do. It would inflame the anxiety, it would inflame the conditions, and the most important thing he can do if he wants this thing behind us is to rescind his order.
Russia has launched one of its largest strikes on Kyiv, injuring 4 people and causing widespread damage across 7 of the capital's 10 districts. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched 315 drones overnight across the country. Further south, in the port city of Odessa, 2 people were killed after drone attacks hit residential buildings and medical facilities, including a maternity ward. Zelensky later said 13 people had been injured there. He said the overnight attack was one of the largest strikes on Kyiv ever. Israel says a group of activists, including Swedish campaigner Greta Thunberg, who were detained aboard a Gaza-bound aid boat, have been taken to Tel Aviv airport for deportation. The yacht carrying 12 people trying to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza was towed to the Israeli port of Ashdod on Monday, after it was seized by Israeli forces in the early hours. Dismissing it as a selfie yacht, Israel said the passengers had arrived at Ben Gurion Airport to return to their home countries. The U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic, has removed all 17 members of a committee that issues official government recommendations on immunizations. Kennedy said he wanted to ensure the American people receive the safest vaccines possible. Doctors and health experts have criticized Kennedy's long-standing questioning of the safety and efficacy of a number of vaccines, although in his Senate confirmation hearing he said he is not going to take them away. India's Coast Guard is continuing efforts to douse a fire on a Singaporean-flagged cargo ship in the Arabian Sea near the coast of the southern state of Kerala. Footage showed the MW Wanhai 503 emitting large plumes of smoke as the Indian Navy and Coast Guard tried to extinguish the fire on board. 18 crew members have been rescued while 4 are still missing. And Sly Stone, a funk rock star who led the group Sly and the Family Stone, has died at the age of 82. He rose to stardom in the 60s and 70s after starting out as a DJ in San Francisco. Stone, whose real name was Sylvester Stewart, began singing gospel music with his brothers and sisters at a young age. They were known both for having a diverse music style and being a diverse band with black and white musicians. They played a memorable set at the 1969 Woodstock Festival and to crowds at the Summer of Soul concert in Harlem the same year.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. President of the Nigeria Football Federation, Ibrahim Gusau, is delighted to have achieved its objectives for making the Super Eagles prosecute the 4-Nation Unity Cup tournament in London and a friendly match with the Russia senior national team in Moscow, all within the past 12 days. Gusau says the games have afforded the technical crew the potentials of new players for the team, as they have good options in all areas ahead the must-win FIFA World Cup qualifying matches in September. The 3-time African champions ended the FIFA window unbeaten against Ghana, Jamaica, and Russia. New York and Philadelphia's host cities executives for the 2026 World Cup say organizers accept that an immigration crackdown by President Donald Trump's administration may be among the outside events that impact next year's tournament. The 48 nations expanded World Cup will be played at 16 stadiums in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada from June the 11th to July the 19th next year. But the recent Trump's travel ban on citizens from 12 countries have caused a pool of uncertainty over preparations for the event in ways that few could have imagined.
And one of the things that I think we all recognize is that we have to be really good at operating within that uncertainty. I think for each of our cities, we want to be prepared to make any person that is coming and makes the decision to come to the United States or come to this World Cup feel that they are welcome.
So I think anytime you're putting on a major sporting event, you've got to navigate the geopolitical waters. It's not, unique to this World Cup, and it's not going to be unique to the 2028 Summer Olympics or even the Winter Olympics in Milan.
Young Spanish defender Dean Huijsen says Real Madrid is the club of his life and that he was fulfilling his dreams by joining the Spanish giant. The 20-year-old who agreed a 5-year deal at the Bernabeu last month met President Florentino Perez at the club's training complex to sign his contract and be officially presented as a Real Madrid player earlier today. The move followed an outstanding season, his first at Bournemouth's Vitality Stadium, during which he helped Anthony Iraola's team to a 9th place finish in the Premier League. And in tennis, former U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu kickstarts her Queen's Championship campaign with a 6-1, 6-2 win over Christina earlier today. Raducanu blitzed Christina in her first grass court match of the season, easing past the Spaniard in 64 minutes. The 22-year-old has been in the midst of a revitalizing 2025 season, reaching the Miami Open quarterfinals and the 4th round on clay at the Italian Open.
That backhand has punched many a hole today. Fantastic performance from Emma Raducanu from start to finish. Winners galore today, and just did not let Christina Buxer settle at all. Some devastating ball striking, excellent returning, and that's a brilliant start to the grass court season.
That sports is back to you, Ayo.
Thank you so much, Chris. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu directed all government agencies to ensure prompt payment for the use of newly renovated International Conference Center, which has now been named after him. The president was speaking during the commissioning of the facility, his first assignment after returning to the FCT after the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. The Senate today announced plans to institutionalize the annual June 12 presidential address in recognition of the day's historical significance. And the death toll from Austria's school shooting has risen to 11. Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker has described the shooting a national tragedy. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.